Hi, and thanks for joining me today as we talk about something that I think is pretty important. We're going to unpack the skill of lifting weights. Yes, believe it or not, there are skills involved with lifting weights, and it takes time to develop the proficiency in that. So to start, I'm gonna give us a bigger, kind of broader glance at what this all is. Feel free to take a screenshot or kind of soak that all in. And I'm gonna move the camera away and then talk about this a little bit more in detail. But again, looking at this and just doing a broad overview of the different items that we're gonna unpack, developing the proficiency in the movements and exercises is not easy. These are some things that you can focus on that if you are having some difficulty as you're getting started or as you're learning different elements about exercise or movements, to not be discouraged. Things that you can focus on here, and safety being the top order of business, consistency, larger structures, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, and then a couple of notes at the bottom. And yeah, we'll dive right in. So oftentimes we get the chance to work with people and maybe it's been a while since they've exercised, or maybe they never have before, or they're new to strength training in particular. And of course, when we're moving external loads, we're doing resistance training, we're moving weights, there's a concern about injury, right? So this is one of the major reasons why we acknowledge and understand that there is skill involved with developing these movement patterns, the motor patterns, the control of our body and the external load through space. So that's why here in that first note I have developing proficiency in movements and exercise is not easy. This is something that we're very intentionally taking our body through space to perform an action. And even if I were to tell you to walk across the room, as you're instructed to do so, now you start to think, well, how do you want me to do that? You know, and I say, hey, you put one foot, your right foot first, and then you put your left foot first, so on and so forth. As we control the setting more, there's increased stress, and it becomes a little bit tricky to do these things as we're more aware and intentional about them. Give yourself some time and some space and some grace to kind of figure this out. So here are some things that you can focus on as you're starting to get more familiar with exercise, and as at times we might feel like this is difficult, this is challenging, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to do this. Here are some items that you can focus on, 3 different things that may help with giving you something to kind of hang on to as you're learning these skills of whatever exercises that you're doing. So we're looking at safety first. Injury is often the result of the body's inability to slow down. We're moving too quickly through a range of motion, or with a weight that maybe we're not prepared to move too quickly. And as we're entering these ranges of motion, or as we're moving a weight that might be too much for us, if we're unable to slow down or stop the movement, the risk of injury increases exponentially. So, what do we do about this? Well, we can slow down the movement. Now, one of the ways that we can do this is with tempo work, and a standard is a 3-second down, 3-second up kind of deal, kind of structure here. So, just really quick, if we were to look at the squat pattern here, if I was going to do a body weight squat, and I was uncertain about the movement of the squat, what I could do is I could slow down the movement very intentionally, coming down 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and then coming back up 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Now, of course, it's going to be tricky to count our reps as we're doing that, but as safety is our top priority there, as we demonstrate that control over an extended period of time, increasing time under tension, we dramatically increase our safety and our preparedness of the movement. So that is one way that we can mitigate that aspect of things, trying to maintain safety in the movement. And even if we were going to do a weight that we were unsure of, as we're trying out new weights, or as we're trying out weights for the first time, we can slow it down to demonstrate that full control so that we don't move too quickly too soon. The next thing that we see is consistency. So in order to get good at something, whatever it might be, we need consistency. We can't pick up the piano, say, okay, I'm going to start learning how to play the piano and play it once a month and expect to get better at it, at least not in any sort of notable way. It's going to take increase in consistent exposure to playing the piano in order to get good at it. Exercise is the same thing, as it is a skill that we're trying to teach our body and our brains. There are neurological components to this. We have to teach the body how to compose itself as we're doing these exercises. So consistency is going to be key. And if there's an exercise in particular that we're having trouble with and we're trying to improve the skill of, 1 to 3 times per week, maybe going more towards that 3 times per week, will help us in developing more proficiency in that particular movement pattern. Consistency. The next item that we have here is focusing on the larger structures of our body. This might seem obvious. It may not. But as we're doing these exercises, focusing on the larger pieces, like our thoracic cage, our chest and our shoulder blades, or our hips. So as we're focused on lower body movements in particular, focusing on our hips and what they're doing in space, going back to that squat pattern here. If I'm focused on my feet, or if I'm too focused on my feet, my hips are really what's dictating that movement. So if my hips go really far back, I'll start to fall back, or I might fold over because my hips are going back in space. If my hips are too far forward, I might find my weight more on my toes, and that might exploit my knees or put a little bit more strain on my knees. So in the lower body movements, and we can extrapolate that to different forms of squatting, lunging, deadlifting, Romanian deadlifts, so on and so forth, paying attention to the hips is going to capture a lot for us for those lower body movements. When it comes to upper body movements, staying a little bit more focused on the larger structure of our chest or our shoulder blades and what's going on there, where are they at in space and what are they doing, will help. So again, succinctly put, if I'm doing a lower body exercise, maybe we pay attention a little bit more to the hips. If I'm doing an upper body movement, maybe I'm paying a little bit more attention to the chest and the shoulder blades, to just give us something to focus on as we're doing the exercise, to get something to hold on to here. So our 3 items there, we got the safety, slowing down the movement, consistency, practicing the movement 1 to 3 times per week, and then focusing on the larger structures, hips for lower body, chest and shoulder blades for upper body, push-ups, presses, things like that. Now, I want to bring you in a little bit closer here as we're wrapping up. I know I'm sad too. Sometimes increasing the weight will help. Now, the reason for this is as we have increased resistance, it gives us a little bit more feedback. Not too much. We don't want to go from 10 pounds to 100 pounds. But if the 10 pounds isn't really helping us learn the movement better, maybe a 12 pound, maybe a 15 pound, even if we have to decrease the reps a little bit. And remember, you can always utilize that tempo, 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up. But increasing the weight a little bit will help provide a little bit more feedback to the body as to what it's supposed to do. Give yourself a little bit of patience. Give yourself a little bit of grace. You're learning something new, and it takes time. Thanks so much for watching today. I'll see you next time.